Hello.
Hey fam.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Finally, we're getting some subnets out, and people are mining.
Yeah, it kind of feels like wheels on the track.
Yeah, and my concern is the like basically the minimum stake is too high. So, and I guess the reason for that right now is to avoid self-voting.
Malicious
But
actors, yeah, I think so.
yeah,
But it's
yeah.
limiting.
Yeah, like well, you can still make a subnet. It's just not going to get incentive unless, and so like, I think trying, like, I want to think of a proposal to make for the community to propose on whether the 5 million is too high. I personally think 1 million is fine, but I guess community, like, we can let the community decide on what they prefer. Yeah, I don't know. The other devs say that 5 million is a good way to basically keep it at bay.
I mean, potentially,
Yeah,
but it doesn't really matter what the devs say, right? It matters what the community says as a whole.
yeah. Like I want this to be like Hugging Face, like kind of like an incentivized Hugging Face in a way, for like not just like models, but for basically like anything. And like I think what Web2 companies do very well is they don't like they're very inexpensive for like consumers, and like unfortunately Web3 companies like ourselves, like we have to incentivize trustless systems, so like there involves some cost, but maybe there's a way around it. I'm not sure. I'm sure there is.
Yeah, I'm sure there's definitely a lot of different avenues that we can look at, but it is going to become a problem eventually, obviously, if there's like a limited number of subnets that are able to function without effectively just losing money for those involved,
Yeah, and it's just a matter of time. I guess it's like, I kind of want to give people the option to do subnets if they want to, or just do applications. I feel like it's not going to really matter. Like, we shouldn't really create like subnet applications that kind of restricts our kind of like ability to like build. I think like so it's like we kind of want the general subnet to be like that, and hopefully we can merge the general. So I think we're going to eventually be merging the general subnet with build and stake. That seems quite inevitable. It seems where we're going. And
the stake value is kind of high, but I think the thing that worries me the most, like when I'm thinking about trying to develop our own subnet and stuff, is the $10,000 burn if you don't get your proposal across the line. Like, that's a big ask.
Yeah, that is another thing.
It sort of incentivizes a lot of community engagement. Although it's difficult and it's scary, definitely, I think it sort of really highlights the importance of making sure that there's activity and outreach in communication.
But I mean, like, I'm a pretty, like, people know who I am now, I think. And like, I'm too nervous to pull the trigger on that one right now. Like,
maybe a lock, maybe potentially a lock or something would be a better option, or like a lock for like maybe a week. I don't know. Yeah, I think the 10,000 burn is a bit high. And I think this is not for the subnet. This is for the
it's for proposals for things like subnets and stuff. Yeah, like
for the module proposal. It's just for the module for the. Yeah, sorry.
You can put a subnet up without DAO's approval. The subnet is completely independent of anything that.
That's just the DAO. Oh, I thought that was for subnets as well.
No, so essentially the way that it works is that the DAO only really covers essentially runtime upgrades and subnet 0 functions for the most part. And obviously the module curation DAO now specifically for modules on subnet 0 is going to be like a completely separate thing. But the actual like to put up a subnet is completely entirely up to you, and there realistically is no cost to it in theory, but obviously people aren't necessarily incentivized to stake to you, unless you're reaching the threshold to actually start receiving emissions, and that's
That's
like
a little high, yeah.
that's the more difficult part. But in terms of like worrying about like actually losing something, you theoretically aren't. There isn't actually a cost to set up a subnet. Which is why I saw a question earlier actually in the in one of the channels about why there's 11 subnets listed on Comstats, but there's only like 2 primary subnet Discord channels, and that's largely just because those are the 2 who have put themselves in a position where they're like functional within the Yuma consensus system. And then there might be a lot of other subnets that people have sort of like put their name to or claimed, but aren't actively like in a position to make themselves like fully public yet. So obviously all of those 11 may actually end up within the subnet section of the Discord with their own dedicated functions and things like that. But as of right now, obviously a lot of those are sort of just claimed slots, as it were, as opposed to actual functional subnets.
And if you want to like, let's say, do a subnet, like, or like fuck around on like something, and then like before it's public, it's kind of like you could just like contact me or whoever else that's willing to support, and like I can like register the subnet for you, or like, I don't know, pay for the registration costs. I don't think it should be. I think it's about like, well, I think we're maybe increasing it, but it's around like 5 tokens, 10 tokens, depending on like the volume, like, you know, the traffic, but like you know, to register. But yeah, it doesn't get emissions if you do it on a different subnet. Yeah, we're trying to make this more accessible. I do agree that the 10,000, like, yeah, when the 10,000 locked, even if it's not a subnet, like for the modules, like I don't think, like, the goal is for anyone to propose this, and I don't think many people have like 10,000 less, like, let alone $10,000 maybe, like, let's say in certain parts of the world. So like if you want them to participate, then we definitely need to. I don't think a cost mechanism is great. I think maybe having a lock, maybe you lock your tokens for like a certain period. Like, let's say while the module is running, you lock those tokens, or while it's on the network. Yeah, I'm not sure.
I mean, I think people could do a really, really good job of just making themselves more inclined to take part in things like these weekly events, because that's actually how they're going to drum up interest, and how they're going to actually be able to outreach to the people who maybe do have the funds to support them making a proposal. You know, there's definitely space for that conversation to happen during an event openly, as opposed to them having to like maybe try and DM or approach some of the people that they think would have the funds to put forward. And I think that's just a similar avenue to getting subnets and getting the required stake for emissions to begin, is this idea of actual community interaction and people getting their voice out there. There's a lot of methods for people to get their voice out there and to be heard, but there aren't that many who are willing to take the plunge to sort of like push their idea forwards.
Yeah, no, I agree. We definitely need to incentivize participation. Sorry, I'm a bit.
No, it's okay. I don't think it's
yeah.
incentive that's missing. I think it's like people's ability to take action that's sort of like, because the incentive is there, like the platform is there for them. It's just people haven't as of yet sort of taken that step. They haven't taken that leap that's available to them. Whether that's because they're too hesitant to be the first ones to sort of use the platforms in those ways, or something similar, we don't know. But yeah, it's, I mean, the methods are there.
It's also communication too. I don't think we've been fully not I guess transparent, but like also like in terms of like how to participate. A lot of people probably don't know how they would participate exactly, like, because a lot of people ask me, what is a module, or how can I serve a module? And then I guess fundamentally, if you don't want to mine, if you just want to build something useful, then like module is essentially anything that you can like get running. Like, it doesn't have to require a commune at all. Like, the whole point of this is to like get people to like build what they think is cool, and then like if the community thinks it's cool, then they support it through staking rewards. So yeah, but yeah, like I think just having more easier onboarding for like developers. I think having like a dashboard or like a place where you can manage projects, that's something that we've definitely needed. People propose things like D-work or other things. And yeah, like I think it's just about the front end and like the organization that we need to as an organizer, like me particularly, but also like like a lot of people are trying to help me out, but I think right now it's like my organizational skills are probably not crazy good. But I'm more of like, that's why I built Commune. I'm like, I want it to be anything, but then with the problem with like being anything is that you kind of break organizational patterns, unfortunately, and then you end up breaking a lot of things that other people are used to not breaking. So yeah, I'm just navigating that space.
No, definitely. I mean, that's why there's been so frequent and so large changes, sort of week by week, month by month. I mean, if we go back to January, the difference in the protocol from then until now is astronomical. You almost would look at the two and think they're completely different things.
Yes.
And I think that's just that's a product of the community slowly but surely shaping the way that things should be, or the way that they want it to be, I guess would be the correct way of phrasing it. So I think
Yeah.
like knowing that there's still a lot more to do potentially isn't a bad feeling, because it means that you know that there's future, you know that there's space, there's room to grow.
Yeah. No, I'm patient, but I am also impatient because things, like for instance, like our design really hasn't changed significantly too much. Like we've had like anyone can create a subnet from the from day one.
Yeah.
And I think we launched in like June.
Mm-hmm.
And whereas at the time, like I'll say like BitTensor had like, let's say, 2 subnets that, or like they didn't have it was a permissioned, like only the foundation can make the subnets. And then like part of my motivation of doing Commune was like, okay, have people create anything they want, subnets, whatever. And I didn't really utilize the subnet architecture as much as I probably wanted to during the early days. And when BitTensor ended up, in fact, well, a lot of them a lot of their devs talk to me, like they're like, oh, how do we do this and stuff. And then they released Revolution on September, and then that kind of took off. And then the whole narrative was like, oh, BitTensor made this. Whereas in reality, like it was, Commune, we actually did it first. Doesn't really matter. Who cares? But it's like, I just kind of lost that momentum, I feel. Like potentially, but not entirely. But like, so I just tell myself that, like, for the next time. There's always going to be a next time. There's
Always.
so many. Sorry.
Yeah, always, absolutely.
I think it's not always. I'm like, yeah, that might be true.
Yeah. No, I think there will always be another chance. There'll always be another shot, and there'll always be that shot that you take.
Yeah. Yeah, so I just try to just tell myself you can't take time for granted, because I feel like I took a lot of time for. I'm like, yeah, like they're not even like doing subnets yet. I have time. But that's the beauty of the game. Like everyone's like pushing each other, and I think both us and BitTensor are going to be kind of like Amazon and Google, or like we're just kind of like just change. Hopefully not this like morally, but
yeah.
But like like we're just going to be pushing each other to change, and we're just seeing that. We're seeing that more and more, yeah. And I think we're both noticing each other, and we're kind of like reacting or making moves. It's a fun game, though. It's like we're playing on a higher protocol level, I would suppose.
Yeah, it's a nice thought.
Yeah, awesome. So I guess, yeah, what if is anyone presenting this week?
So Marco has something to show for us, what he's been working on, cooking in the kitchen in that background. So if you want to take it away, Barco, if you want to introduce anything a little bit, or if you just want to dive straight in, entirely up to you.
So with the Cynthia subnet coming out and difficulties mining on subnet 0, I wanted to try to make something for everyone to be able to easily deploy miners using the Cynthia architecture. So I made a command line tool that basically walks you through the whole process, asks you questions about what you need to enter, and handholds you all the way through the whole thing. So I'll show you how it works. So it just lays on top of the Cynthia library. So you just put it into the Cynthia folder after you've downloaded the repo and got it set up. Then you just put it in, into the root, and it's just called launcher. And then you just bash the launcher, and it will ask you what you want to do. So you can choose your deployment. Deploying a validator is serving and launching the validator. Serving means that you are just providing it to the network so that it is available to be accessed by the network. Launching means that you are registering it with the network so that the network knows that it's there. So we're going to just do a miner. And then so it will ask you if you want what you want to name it. So the file has to be named the same as the module name. So you would copy the base module, which is the Anthropic module here, and then you just change it to whatever name that you want. And the nomenclature here is, or the convention here is going to be, let's do artificial here. Artificial, and then we'll call this one agent. It's going to be the name of the file name. So here we're putting agent, and then the class inside of it. So that's the big block of text right at the very top. You just change that to whatever the second portion is. So here we put agent, which is the name of the file, and then .artificial, and then we hit enter, and then agent.artificial. And then it's going to say, do you want to create a key? So you can create a key if you like, if you don't have one that already exists. I don't, so we'll say yes here. And then it will make you a key and shows you the mnemonic to everybody so that they can steal all of your money. I'm gonna use this and launch it with the $300. If someone's super fast, they might steal it from me, but hopefully not. I'm gonna clear that. Oh wait, that won't work.
MEV bot just got you.
Oh yeah. Okay. Let me actually just clear that because I don't want to actually lose money. So give me a second here. See. Oops. Oh. Sorry, give me 2 seconds here. I just want to make sure that I have. I don't want to transfer money onto a wallet and then have someone like be really quick and snap it for me.
No, that's okay. So this is sort of following in the vein of the other updates that you've released recently with the API stuff and things like that, in sort of just really trying to increase the accessibility of the system as a whole.
Yeah, so like one of the things that I really want to try to make like easier for people is just to like be able to just generally interact with the chain, because one of the difficulties with the with it is just like it's a very complicated architecture, and like it's not like that it's like overcomplicated or anything, but it's just like the Web3 in general is just like, I found like onboarding for Web3 for me was like quite a chore, just because like there's like so many different layers and things that you need to learn, and then especially when you're dealing with like financial transactions and stuff, like it can get a little bit nerve-wracking. So having stuff that will like hand hold you through the process so that you don't have to worry about like it accidentally like you putting in the wrong command and like sending all your money to somebody by accident or something crazy like that.
Of course.
Yeah. So sorry, you were saying something?
No, I was just saying, like it's a very prevalent theme in sort of all the things that you've been developing with your time here in Commune AI, is that it's just effectively trying to make sure that everybody who does come here and who is already here just has a much easier time. You know, it's this user experience that you sort of seem to keep harking back to and trying to improve, is just getting more people involved into the system.
Yeah.
And that's
so
it's really, really beautiful to see.
I think that like one of the biggest powers, like I've worked in a lot of different open source communities, and like particularly with Consensus, like I was in Occupy Vancouver and I was a moderator of the General Assembly and stuff. So I've worked with Consensus a lot. And one of the things that I know from working with these is that you have to like really trust the process, because if you don't trust the process, then the process doesn't work. But when you do trust the process, the things that you can get done with it are quite astonishing. They're just not going to happen overnight. So it's people want things to happen quickly and they want to move fast, but like decentralization and open source doesn't do that. And like the only way that you're going to get people to facilitate or to participate properly with these kinds of economies is that like you have to make it easy for people to onboard, and also make it easy for people to like interact with your interface. Honestly, I think a blockchain like should focus on its front end before it does anything else.
Yeah, I mean potentially there's definitely credence to that.
Oh, I'm in the wrong folder. Oh yes, launcher. All right, so we're back to where we were. I just switched around the key that's going to be interacting with. So it's going to be the same thing. So agent.artificial, and then asks me. It says, "Yep, the path already exists there." So this has to be the same. I have an updated version of it that doesn't ask you for the name twice, but it's in case you wanted to use like your module key instead. But the way the Synthia library is organized, I don't think that will work. So I just made it so that it's just going to, if you put in the name, it does it for both. And then now we're going to say, no, we don't want to create a key. And then we do want to transfer balance to it. So we'll say yes here. And then it's going to ask you where you want to transfer your balance from. So we're going to transfer it from our module key. And then we're going to transfer, what is it, 257? Wait, 252 is the minimum, I think? Whatever, we'll just do 260. And then so it'll make the transfer for you. Confirms that you are sending it to the right place. And this like is in a bash script that lays on top of the whole library, so it doesn't like complicate the interoperability of it as well, which is kind of nice because basically like all these things are really complex. So like trying to like build stuff into the side of another library just like adds a lot of complexity. So there's that. So we'll do 66.226.79.10, and then we need a port number. Ports. Shoot. So we'll do 50. Enter. And then we'll deploy this to subnet 0. And we want to confirm. So that was just asking for the IP address, and then asking for the subnet that it's being deployed to, as well as the port that you're using. And like it explains all, like there's text above everything that tells you like this is the amount of tokens that you want to stake to the module. You need a balance of this for that and that for this. And then you want to set your stake. So we'll say.
So may I ask a quick question? So I probably missed something here, but you're specifying subnet 0, not
I'm doing that on purpose just to show that you can use this to deploy subnets, to deploy miners and validators anywhere. It doesn't just have to be on Synthia.
It's just using Synthia as a baseline. There's like a skeleton.
It's using Synthia repo as like the baseline groundwork to like get things launched, but you don't have to use it with like you can create your own miner module miner validator pairs with this, and like just change what the code in here says and then just launch them wherever you want.
Cool, as long as the pathing is the same as it is in Synthia, then
yeah, as long as the module is available for when an RPC call is made to your module, as long as the file's there and available and the code is there to be executed, then you're good to go. So it's arbitrary where you put them. So that's one of the other nice things about having it as like this sort of like overlaying layer, as opposed to like hard coded into the base architecture of the system.
Okay.
Yeah. So do 256, and then wait. I need to add 258.50. Oops. because there's a transaction fee for staking and for transferring. So just make sure that you're putting that in. Delegation fee, I don't think actually matters for the miners, but we'll put that at 5% just in case. And then do we want to add any metadata? I actually don't know what the metadata is yet. I have to figure that out, but I left it as an option. And then it shows you your configuration just to confirm that you would like to, and gives you one last chance before doing it. And then boop. Then we register your miner. Double check that you want to burn. And for the love of God, please work. Yes, it worked.
Deployment complete.
Yeah. So so that's the thing. You can do this for, the cool thing about this is you can also, because there's the balance transfers and creating the keys, you can just do that also as an option on the bottom here. Okay. And then you can also update a module. So like say I want to update that module that I just deployed. So then I'll say agent artificial, and it'll just walk you through the same process again. So then you can like make changes to it without having to using the same system. So you don't have to like use one system for one and one system for other. And then no, and then we want to put in, now that I'm already committed. So what is that? 550. 0. And then we'll put that at 5%, and we'll say no. And then we've just updated the module.
Okay, and so the idea is that this will work sort of by default on every single subnet that is developed from here on out, or is already.
Yeah, you can think of it as like a nice little handy tool that is in addition to the command line tools that are available. Okay. It just handholds you a lot more, and puts you on rails, and also just makes it so like you put in the information. It doesn't matter which one you're used to, it will always put the information in the right spot for you. Because like I find I'm really bad about like entering the right command in the first time, and I went having to hit the same command like 3 or 4 times, or I'll screw up and I'll hit the wrong order and send money to the wrong place or something. Right. So this basically is like, what kind of system do I want if I'm going to use the command line that I will handhold me enough that I'm not going to make these mistakes. Yeah,
it sort of puts you on rails.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I mean, it's great. So unless specifically the setup for a miner is changed to not work the way that it does for every other subnet, this should work perpetually.
Yeah.
Wow.
Cool. That's really cool.
That's like a forever program.
Well,
yeah.
Forever.
Yeah, no, I like the what's it called, when you include the class name in the name. Yeah, that's pretty cool. That allows for like multiple class objects in a file, right? And so you can technically have multiple modules in one file.
Yeah.
Is that true? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That's more on the Cynthia side of the architecture, the way that they designed it. But yeah, that is the way that works. So nice.
Yeah, that's really cool. Like, it's really interesting how like you can call a Python object like without installing it as like a class. You can like kind of like it. I'm still like trying to understand like the the calling differences between like calling like a library and like calling an actual object using like, you know, the file path as like the reference. Like
the pathing system in Python is just a hot mess. And it's because the terminal and your IDE and the Python interpreter all read your path system differently, and then trying to get them to all sync up so they work properly is just like a freaking nightmare. But yeah.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. Yeah, no, it's that's really awesome. And also I was actually about to announce we have another subnet that's actually just went live, I think, today. Like I'm gonna post like I'm trying to make a subnets channel or some whatever category called Market Compass, and it's supported by the ComSwap like devs. So like they're supporting it, and they've just released today. So I'm gonna be making an announcement there. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Like this is really cool. Like with the Cynthia subnet and like
Yeah, and this should, in theory, work with that subnet as well.
It should, yeah.
I haven't tried it
Yeah.
yet, but I will probably after this. And then also Eden, we will be releasing a subnet relatively shortly here as well. That's going to be I think the first subnet's going to be focused on like vector stores and providing document like vectors and embeddings. But
cool.
that should be coming up as well pretty quick here.
That's the Eden one, right? Is that
that's with Eden.
Yeah, and it's essentially vector store, because I was actually thinking of doing a vector store subnet, but I guess I won't if they're going to be doing it. Like it's okay, that's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, we're just still working on ironing out all of the details and stuff, but we should be doing like soft launch sometime this week. So
yeah, that's cool. Yeah, no, it's yeah, no, that's awesome. Yeah, like yeah, no, it's good to know. So I don't like, because I wanted to do like a vector store for like the longest time, but like I just haven't gone to it yet, and yeah, it's good to know that it's happening.
Well, I mean, it seems like with 2 more subnets on the rise, very quickly we're going to sort of be surrounded by them.
That's the idea.
It's very good to see people sort of jumping on the updates, and it feels like it's only been a very, very short while since everything started properly moving, and the Yuma consensus and the DAO governance sort of came in, and people are sort of leaping at the chance, it seems like, to get involved, at least the longer standing members of the community, and hopefully this sort of helps to drive more traffic in and more people can realize the potential.
Yeah, no, I think it will, just because of entropy. Like, right now there's a supply shortage in terms of the subnets available that BitTensor has, and like even though it's 32 is a lot, there's still a lot of people that are getting deregistered, and like many of the people, I'm not going to say specifically who, but like there's a lot of subnets that are on BitTensor that are, maybe they're not feared of deregistration, but there's something they're like, okay, I wish this was better, and they're actually going to be building on Commune as well. Like, they're not leaving BitTensor, they're going to be building with us as well, and hopefully we can like have this like dual network chain, or this dual
like
chain network. Yeah, and then like like I guess maybe BitTensor and Commune will be like one of the first dual networks. I'm sure there are others that exist, but the goal is to get like other networks to kind of like share in this like unified kind of like like you don't have to like own every token to use everything. Ideally, we want to be a connector, and then we want to add liquidity to new tokens as well. So like we want to, I don't know, like there's some people that want to launch their own ERC20s. So like maybe the future of work is like not like being an employee. Maybe it's having your own ERC20. And then like, I don't know, someone puts money into it and as if they were paying you, but they get like a token as return, kind of like showing, oh yeah, I gave you money before. Like,
I mean, the future could be anything at this point. Every time we look, it sort of seems like something that we thought would never change is starting to change, and our perspective on what is and isn't possible seems to be fluctuating daily almost.
Yeah, no, but this is great. This is awesome. Like, I think it really like simplifies a lot of like like it makes me. I'm gonna look into it a bit more. I'm gonna see how I can like incorporate it with the Commune repo, because I know the Commune core. I did like when we made that runtime upgrade last week. I had to make a lot of changes to kind of like refix it, and now it's a bit more stable. Like I've been able to, like there's some things where I can like launch, let's say 30 keys in like 10 seconds or 20 seconds. Like if you, because you like, and I'll show how to do that. There's like this, you basically just like asynchronously launch a bunch of miners like across like 10 to 50 keys with like 500 stake on it, or some like 500 balance. So you want to make sure that you have like it's kind of like a machine gun in a way, where it's like you have multiple.
Yeah, I have a script that does the same thing, but like the Commune proper library works a lot better with the like Pythonic programming scripts. You could do something very similar to this. With that, you could actually modify this to do that as well. I have one that I'm developing that's going to do multiple calling it like a fleet launcher.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, no, yeah, no. I was doing it yesterday because I was just trying to like set up, like I wanted to set up a bunch for like this one computer, and like yeah, with one, if you're using one key, it's going to take you very long. But yeah, if you have like a certain, like if you have like a fleet of keys with like 500 to 1,000, you could, because the reason why it takes too long is because one key, at least to my knowledge, you can't like make consecutive registrations with the same key.
You can use the single key to generate new keys that will launch them with Commune Core.
Okay, yeah. So you can register new keys, but can you do them all simultaneously? Like
you can do them while they're being launched. That's how mine works.
Okay.
So like it when it fires a key, it's like, oh, that key doesn't exist, then makes the key, and then transfers the balance to it, or just stakes the balance to it, all in like a single action.
Yeah, yeah. I always try to be careful with all those these complicated. It's like one small fuck up. It's like transfers your whole balance to like to like
Barbados, it's not your key.
Yeah, I don't know. It's very unlikely because it's very like hopefully they're all in your system. So even if you transfer,
Can you explain the whole like with the miners? I know it's a bit of a numbers game, right? Like but can you explain like a little bit for everyone here how that works, like the algorithm even? Like I've been trying to wrap my head around how, because we'll set up like 10 miners and some of them will get emissions and some of them won't.
Yes.
And I'm trying to understand what the mechanism behind that is today, but also where we're going in the future, because this is something I want to get like understood for the whole community. I think it's a core piece of Commune and it's not well understood by the community. So I was hoping you could shed some light on how that works today and then where we can go in the future. Like I think there's a concept of churn, and I don't think that's happening on Commune. So maybe that's the problem, or maybe there's no problem. I just don't understand.
So the bad thing, like the good thing about the general network is that it's like super general. It's great. The bad thing about it is like it's essentially a free for all Wild West kind of system where like anyone can vote for anything, and so you're gonna have a lot of like that was the original goal. I wanted people to just like vote for what they think was valuable, but unfortunately you've had some instances where people would like, let's say, not be incentivized to be honest, and so a lot of the stake, I would say, right now, I'm not sure what proportion is being fully honest, but it's like some people are just like probably running like scripts to periodically vote or something, instead of actually running like the validators. So that's something that we've like realized over the past like few months, and then like as a result we're going transitioning into like the subnet zero DAO. It's clear that like we don't have the consensus mechanism. Like I tried to build one using like a new trust matrix or a new trust score that made it so that the more validators that vote for you, the higher the score is, in addition to the stake, and that in theory would work, but it also makes it confusing. And like I think I should have probably created more examples of application-based validators, and so we can still do that, but it's just confusing. It's a free-for-all system. Me personally, I'm going to be running, like I'd recommend other people to do it as well, but like I'm going to be running specific validators, and you can always query them to see if they're running, and even just seeing the staleness on the validators. If they voted like within the last like 20 like blocks or 100 blocks, they're probably active. Some of them haven't voted for a while, and right now we don't have a wait age limit for the subnet zero, after like the runtime upgrade we did, and so like there could be a lot of inactive validators.
But how is that affecting the miners themselves? So what CoolRazor was saying was that if he sets up 10 miners, for example, half of them will actually be generating, and then the other half just won't, and the reasoning doesn't seem to be clear if they're all set up identically.
Yeah, well, it is a numbers game because sometimes like the UIDs are shifting, the validators could be voting, and then some of them could, let's say, stop voting, or maybe the network goes out, stalls, and then it fixes on that, like those UIDs, and then
Okay.
it's a mix of things, but
So it could be due
inevitably
to
it's a numbers
unreliable
game.
validation then.
Yes, but I would
Okay.
say this: if for subnet 0, the best way to mine on subnet 0, is to just run a bunch of open router endpoints and like run like 20 to 30, see how much you get. It's going to be a probability game, at least for subnet 0, and it always kind of is, even for the other subnets. But like I like until we have the DAO, what I'm going to be doing for subnet 0, I'm going to be launching about like three, like, you know, at least 3 types of validators, like one validator for subspace, one validator for storage, and then a validator for text models, specifically the valley.text.realfake, the one that essentially tests models on how well it understands the commune repo. Those are the 3 things I'll be putting on probably like a few million across those 3. And then as they mature into, like, until they mature into subnets, because to mature them into subnets, I would just register the miners on subnet 0 to like another subnet. So it's not too difficult. You don't have to change that much. But yeah, like I would say those I will make sure that they'll be as honest as I can make them. And but I can't guarantee that for everyone else, because like that's, you know, I'm only having like I could remove this, I can reduce the stake to, or the delegation fee to as low as possible, and try to find ways to incentivize people to stake. But like, yeah, like, you know, I think that the truth of the matter is we were trying to solve general consensus mechanism, and it seems like I don't think we've fully solved it yet, and we're going to come back to it eventually. But as of right now, a solution would be the general mechanism is more social, and that's why we're doing the more the subnet DAO, subnet 0 DAO. Whereas Yuma is really good at special use cases. It's not perfect, but it's like, you know, it does the job. So like, you know, like it'll be much easier to mine on the special use case subnets. And for the general subnet, mining will be a little different. It's going to be more like proposing for bounties, where every week, we're still figuring out the details, but ideally I want to have it like every 1 week or 2 weeks, where the emissions are distributed based on like the nominators obviously are whitelisting the validators, and then the stakers on that subnet are voting. But like you know, like, yeah, like basically merging that with the bounty system, so it'll be more like a like more general. There wouldn't be like, so our new transition actually is combining both. Well, we've always had the BitTensor subnets, or like the subnets concept, but we didn't really have Yuma consensus that was identical to BitTensor for those subnets. So like I think this new model will combine the best of both worlds, where we can have like the ability for subnets, but also the ability for like being able to be general. And we're just going to evolve over time. We're going to be adding new like my goal is to give people the opportunity to like basically differentiate their consensus mechanisms to however they want, as long as it's fair and it doesn't like involve like self-voting and like, you know, like dishonest voting. So like I don't want to constrain us to Yuma consensus. I think there are many ways in which we can do consensus that isn't Yuma. But
I mean,
the issue
I just
is,
want to circle back very, very quickly, just so that everybody's aware here, and obviously this will go in the video as well, in that we're planning to obviously make some changes, and we're looking to update the current bounty system. But there is the current issue of everybody who is currently working on a bounty, or every active bounty, needs to have that bounty logged. And so there was an announcement made very recently by FAM that needs to be logged, and people need to send evidence and proof of the bounty being assigned to myself. And so anybody who is currently actively working on a bounty or has had a bounty assigned, or it ever at any point expects to receive payment for a bounty, that needs to have been logged by myself. So if you're not certain that it has been, or obviously you know that you haven't contacted me, then I would very much recommend that you do so. And moving forwards, that's generally going to be the process when it comes to handling bounties for the immediate future anyway. And then we can arrange to have you present, or somebody to present on your behalf, to verify and validate what you've done, so that things can be processed and handled properly. But unless the information is passed through myself, it's effectively never going to happen. And I can, at this point, confirm that not a single person has approached me with regards to an active bounty that they're working on.
Yes.
So that very much
It's
needs to
and that's
happen.
partly my fault. Because
Okay.
people, I think it's because there's some developers that I've been working with projects, and I think they just message me, and I'm just too nice to not message back. And so what I need to do is set proper boundaries, because it is distracting for me, and it's become probably a hindering point from Commune. And I it really did like kind of like make me a little salty / cynical when I realized like, oh, like just the level of grift some of these developers have. Like, it's just like I understand, but I also understand people, let's say perhaps they're desperate for getting paid, so that, you know, that's I could try to understand that. You know, I've obviously contracted a lot, and like I'm sure I've overbilled people, because like, you know, I'm like, yeah, they have money. I don't care. So like I'm sure, you know, it's like, you know, it's like I'm just being honest. It's like, so I'm trying to see that perspective, as in terms of like, you know, when I was doing that too. So I'm like, okay, yeah, you know, I know the game kind of, but it doesn't feel good when it's being done to you. But it's like, but yeah, like I don't know. It's just like, I think I've heard that from like some of the people that I actually think care. Like, it's very easy to tell whether you care. Like and like a lot of these developers are very impatient, and they might be in this call too. And yeah, like I think it's good to just set those boundaries, and for me not to like respond unless it's like I'm like really involved with the project. But I shouldn't be that involved, because I should be just focusing on core things.
Ideally,
yeah. So
I mean, I think it stems from a good place, right? It stems from you wanting to address and sort of help and handle and make sure everything runs smoothly. But I mean, we are all just single people. You know, there's only so much that we can take on. And I mean, it's not necessarily that you need to not respond. It's just a case of people need to be aware that there is a procedure for this. You know, and if you've told them the procedure and they're like refusing to follow that, there's nothing else that you can realistically do. But we wanted to make sure that everybody was aware of this procedure. Obviously, there was an announcement that went out, so ideally everybody should be aware. But to reiterate again, that like anything to do with any bounty, it has to be something that has passed through myself to be logged and noted. Otherwise, we can't move for it forwards. But I don't think obviously nobody else has approached me to showcase anything and whatnot. But I think what Barker has done here is really, really incredible. I would recommend that anybody who can see the potential of this long-standing moving forwards, sort of throw some stake his way. I think what he's produced here is exactly the kind of thing that we want, and it's exactly the kind of thing that we want to promote. So I think everybody, and that's what we want this event to be again, sort of to everybody, as we want this to be anybody who looked at this and thought, wow, that's good, or that's interesting, that's cool. Put your stake where your mouth
this
is.
really cool. Stake where your mouth is. Yes.
I would say that to absolutely everybody, you know.
Yeah, you can stake that key that I just posted, or not the one that I doxed, but the the blind. That's the key for that's the key for the miner that I just launched. So
nice.
But yeah, everybody, you know, take it upon yourselves to be one of the first. You know, everybody wants to be I was here, so be here, be present, and make sure that you're engaging in the community and helping it to grow to how it should be. Because if things like this are rewarded and everybody can see that this is rewarded, you guys are going to want to develop something as well, right? You guys are going to want to get in on the action.
Yeah. I think I'm going to be making a new proposal as well, because I think one of the issues is not like we're engaging people that do this care, and the issue is I'm not sure what portion of the token holders either hold the token because they care, and they want to engage, or they hold the token because they think it's like, oh, it's like this is a beta play for Tensor and the price go up, or like it's just like I'm going to assume, unfortunately, that most of the initiative, as with all tokens or most tokens, are for price go up reasons.
I mean, even if they are, I think what a lot of people are missing, if that is their perspective, is that doing it for the passion is realistically what will make token go up. It's not going to go up automatically. It's going to go up as it gets more utility, more use cases. People do more with it, and people are going to be able to do more with the system and the community when there's more going on. Which means, idle money generates nothing. Idle money depreciates. And so, if you have an investment here, directing that investment into avenues that you think are going to be successful, or you can see are successful. What Bako has produced here, like what mentioned earlier, that's like a forever implementation that will work, that everybody will be able to use effectively for Commune AI's entire lifespan. That's an incredible addition, realistically. Even more so than like a temporary project or a temporary plan. This is like a core thing that everybody will be able to use now forever to make their lives easier, more accessible. And so it's very much a case of anybody who's sat here on like any stake that isn't actively helping projects be produced, they aren't contributing to token money go up. They're not at all.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Which means
I don't
they're
want to. I don't
hindering
want to
their own
offend everyone.
potential.
I don't want to offend everyone saying that everyone's like, no. I'm saying like similar to what Dynamic Tau is trying to solve, where the whole point of Dynamic Tau is to solve like their well, I guess they're solving many problems, but the whole, I guess the reason, part of the reasons they want to they want to remove the need for like root validators. And yeah, we currently don't have any root validators, but we also we obviously have an issue of inactive stake perhaps. And so this proposal I'll be making will essentially be like, it will give more APR for early stakers on a certain module than later stakers.
This is what we discussed on the
yes.
the AMA that we did recently.
So Dynamic Tau is going to be more volatile. Like you can make a lot more money, I'm sure, but you can also lose a lot more money because it's using the Uniswap protocol. What we'll be doing is using an adjusted, it's basically an adjusted Uniswap protocol that constrains the amount you can lose and the amount you can gain to within a certain range. So if right now the APR is 50%, then if you're the first to stake on something, you get maybe 70, 80%. And if you're let's say the last to stake on something, you might get maybe 40, 30%. And those dynamics we still have to figure out more precisely, but essentially it's following the Uniswap protocol, but not on a subnet level, more so on a per validator level. So it's if I let's say if I stake to your validator first, and then other people stake to me as well, to this validator as well, then I will be getting a bit higher of an APR than later staker. And so what that does is it just spreads the incentive to find to restake, and then if I'm the first staker, then I'm incentivized not to unstake. But if I do unstake, I'm probably going to restake onto a completely new module. So this just basically makes it it might make the APR a little wonky a little bit, but it's basically going to incentivize early stakers, which promotes activity. And let's see if the community likes that idea. I'm not sure if they will, but yeah.
as soon as like somebody, and I think it's also going to help developers in making sure that they put their best foot forwards when they're developing something or advertising what they've developed, right? Because they're going to want people to stake early, and it's going to allow people who have that sort of stake lying around, or they're looking to move it to a new project. If you're able to communicate things, you're going to have so many people flooding to you to stake to you because they think your project's going to be successful. You know what I mean? And people want to, they want availability to that, increased incentive. So I think
Yeah.
it sort of works on both ends of the spectrum, both for the people who have the stake and for the ones who want it. It should incentivize like a lot more aggressive action in the movement and the production that these sites are going to be giving us.
I agree, and it should also incentivize, like, if anyone wants to make their own token, like their own ERC20. Like, I know a lot of people wanting to make their own tokens, and like you can use Commune as like a way of, like, let's say creating a module and then evolving that into your own token, and then using the emissions. Like, you can sell off that Commune and or like put it in like, let's say sell it for Ethereum and then put that in a Uniswap pool to then increase the price of your own token. And like that, I think my like ultimate goal is so that like lots of people have tokens and they don't work for anyone. like there's no like like my goal is for there not to be employers. Like, well, not, I don't know, like employers maybe in a different sense, but like more so like everyone, like for instance in Canada, I'm sure it happens everywhere else, like when you pay taxes or when you get paid, you get taxes taken. If you're an employee, you typically take taxes get removed from your paycheck before you actually get the money, which doesn't allow you to like expense things. And rather so, like, the government, you have to expect the government to like say, oh yeah, like this is how much we owe you. I don't like that. No, like, because business people don't do that. Like, and so why should employees have to do that too? Like, like employees should have the same rights as businesses. And I think everyone should have their own LLC or their own corporation or their own token to essentially have a certain safe haven that like lets them control like like their tax rate or like their expenses based on like the same way businesses do it. Like that's why like income inequality is even getting worse, because like only certain people can afford like accountants to like create these complicated like corporation structures. It's just it's that's something that I've really wanted to like help out with, and I think giving everyone a token, if that happens, that might, that's a way forward towards it, I think.
Yeah, definitely. But no, I mean, today's been really good. I'm super impressed with what Bajo's produced. And I
Yeah,
really
this is
hope
awesome.
we get to see more people sort of get their hands dirty and start, whether or not you're doing something that you're actually creating something new, or you're making something easier to access, or potentially even both. Like everything that people are looking for is either new things or things to be easier or things to be better. It doesn't necessarily have to be super creative idea, even if it's a slight improvement. It's if it's a forever thing like what Bako's produced, then there's a huge amount of intrinsic value in that.
Yeah,
But no, I think we've covered a lot today.
this is
Again, for
awesome.
those who sort of missed it, we got a little bit of a sneak update on 2 potential new subnets coming in, one being the Market Compass and the other one being the Vector Store. So keep your eyes open for that as things develop. But yeah, no, today's been really, really good.
Yeah, no, awesome. Yeah, and more to come. It's like we got so much. We're just updating every week, and yeah, no, it's, and the best thing about this is that anyone can like propose a change, and like we can vote on it as a community, and we could literally do that every week. Like,
Yeah.
it takes 3 days to get approved. Like, our past approvals have been pretty decent. We've had decent turnout. Like, and I think, yeah, no, this is like a road towards decentralization. And I don't have to do everything, or like not everything. I'm not doing everything anymore. But before, when we started, it was just crazy, and it's still crazy now. I think a lot of my time is being spent towards like micromanaging devs, and I'm trying to avoid that. But yeah, like decentralization, hopefully that will be better.
No, that's perfect. But I want to say thank you to everyone, and thank you again for coming up and showing us what you've been working on, Bako. That was really good.
Yeah, that's dope. Awesome.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Cheers.
But yeah, everybody, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll see you hopefully next time.
All right. Peace out.
Cheers, guys.